Okay. So it is 1 o'clock, and I think we can start this first webinar of the AUC forum. As you saw in the title, we are trying to have a balance sheet. We went through a big experience, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and looking at the whole context, it is full of uncertainty, even about the origin of COVID. But there are two facts. One is that remote teaching is not new. It has been practiced before, but there has been a controversy. And I have been looking at the different surveys with lots of support and lots of reservations. Some said, those who have reservations, said that it is online teaching compared to face-to-face teaching is like visiting the place. And there is a difference between the two. But in these debates, everybody almost accepted that online teaching will be with us within 10 years, by 2030. We now know that this is not the case. It is with us. And this is the second fact. We have been taken by surprise. And we have to improvise. As the saying tells us, we have been learning while sailing. So obviously, lots of uncertainty, tension, improvisation, and it is time now, at the end of the semester, to come for stock taking and assessment. AUC has taken the decision that summer courses are going to be online. Some colleagues in North America that their universities have already decided that the fall courses are going to be online. Some are hoping not to go this way. So it is time to look at the lessons of our experience, the pros and the cons, as our publicity says it, assets and liabilities. What have we learned? What can we improve? How can we reduce improvisation and the plan? And I think lots of people are asking themselves these questions, not only about teaching, but about other aspects. Our field is teaching, and we have then to try to draw lessons from the experience. And in this panel or webinar, that is a new term, we have 5 participants, 2 colleagues, and I also wanted to hear students. I think they have something to say, and we need to think with them. And I will start with my colleague at AUC, Dr. Aziz Al-Lawzi, the Associate Provost for the title is very important, Transformative Learning and Teaching. But actually, Aziz's contribution has been more important than this position. As a director of for learning and teaching, she has, with her team, helped all of us at AUC to go through this experience. And I would say, without any exaggeration, and I'm talking myself from experience, if we didn't have the CLT, I think the experience at AUC might not have been as successful as it has been. Aziza, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Orani. I'm going to call you Bagat, but the titles. Okay, first of all, when Bagat asked me to take part in this panel, and we were talking about the title, I told him that the title is perfect because he didn't say online teaching and learning, he said going online. And we know that what we did was not really online teaching and learning. What we did was what the literature calls remote emergency instruction. In the middle of the semester, everybody would all of a sudden had to go to switch all their courses online. Number two is the thing is said the preliminary, preliminary feedback or preliminary assessment of the experience or preliminary. And it is preliminary because the jury is still out there. This is our first experience. We're not even at the end of the semester. So yes, it is preliminary, but we've learned a lot and we've faced some challenges and we are planning for the future. So what I'm going to divide the talk into, what was our experience? How did we prepare for our experience? What were the challenges and what was the feedback? And what are we going to do with that to go for the summer and the fall? Because it does look like part of it would be maybe online again. So let's take a look at how we prepared for it. There were two things. First of all, our provost really had, knew that he came and told me, when we were still in China and starting to go somewhere else, he said, listen, it's not a question of if we're going to get the coronavirus, it's when we're going to happen. And I want a contingency plan, and if this is going to happen, what or how are we going to prepare all our faculty? We have 750 faculty with the adjuncts and full-time. So we did the contingency plan. Now, the other thing that was working for us is what Dr. Bagat was talking about, and that is the presence on campus of a unit. That unit has been there for almost 17 years, where the mandate of the unit from day one was to be there for the professional development of faculty, because her teaching and learning for the past 30 years has changed. So the unit, it came, it is now very much part of our culture that professional development is part of what we should be doing. And it's not something it means that we're not good teachers. On the contrary, it means that the teachers need to innovate, need to have the support, because really we can't do it on our own. So once the call came, yalla, we have to go, then the plan was put into place. We had about 12 days where we had, from morning to night, we had tables around which every half hour, a group of faculty would come in and sit and choose what they wanted. We had decided on certain basic tools and pedagogies that would help the regular person go online, even if he hadn't done it before, as much as possible. Once they do the training for half an hour, they would go on the side and there would be support for them to practice it and so on. And then once we went online, we established a feedback mechanism where every single day we would get feedback from faculty and from students for every single course. In other words, a student typically would take 5 courses. He or she would be asked to give back feedback on every single one of the courses independently. The idea being, one, that we would look over it, and then if there needed to be intervention of sorts, if there was a problem, and there was a problem, a technology problem, how do we fix it and what was being done? For example, if faculty were preparing videos, some of them would be doing huge 2-hour video or an hour and a half that not only clogged the system, but lost the students. They had absolutely, there's no student that can concentrate on an hour and a half, even in face-to-face. You really have to do more things. So anyway, so we had these feedback, and everybody understood that the feedback is not evaluative. It's just we wanted feedback in order that if we need to intervene, we could do some intervention. Now, I have to tell you, the first week we had over 8,500 feedback from the students and over 2,500 from the faculty. Now the students, of course, we don't have 8,000 students. They were, you know, they were answering because they had 5 courses. So some of them would answer in some courses and so on. And if they didn't have any problem in other courses, they would not. And we would ask them what would be, what worked for them and what didn't work for them. So we had the 2 things, the positive and the negative. And then at the end of the last week, we would do that every week. And at the end of each week, we would analyze the data and come up with the main themes. What was the problem? The main themes the first week was that the quality of education was not the same because the interaction was not there. And then that's about, I think, 15 or 20% of the students, or maybe more. The communication between faculty and students sometimes was very ineffective. They would bombard them with emails and so on. And then there was a talk about the increased workload. By the time we got to the end of the 4 week, we stopped after 4 weeks. By the end of the 4 weeks, the feedback had dropped. You know, either they got tired or things got fixed, okay? And then the feedback, now it was still, but what went up to, you know, the most important thing was on their mind was the workload. The workload was, they felt it was, you know, something that you can't deal with. And faculty couldn't understand because that's what they usually do face to face. So why all of a sudden are students complaining about this workload? Anyway, so these are some of the challenges. And then the other thing also was the grades. The grades were, and the exams were something that was very much on the mind of the students, very worried. And the university decided to go with what a lot of universities in the States is to do pass-fail choice. Either you choose what the equivalent of pass-fail, or if you did well, then you can choose to do the grade. But you had to decide before the final exam which way you're going to go. All right, so the interesting thing is about 2 weeks ago, I attended the webinar in the States, and they had done a survey with about 3,675 students from all over the country, community colleges, universities, 4 years, different kinds of things. And very interestingly, it was the themes were exactly the same. The interaction, the lack of communication. These were the things that worried that they didn't like about. And what they liked were a little bit what we did liked is that the fact that they had videos that could review and so on. So these were the challenges. So what did we do with these challenges? Well, we tried as much as possible. First of all, we took all this feedback and built in a module, a course, if you wish, for faculty that are going to be teaching in the summer. And it's an excellent, I find it excellent. I hope they're going to look at it because it boils down, all of these complaints, all of these challenges really boils down to the course design. And faculty are used to designing courses for face-to-face, and designing for online or even blended, where it's hybrid, is very, very different than face-to-face, because you cannot engage students online the way you engage them face-to-face. So you have to find what is done. What do the experts of people that do design courses online, what do they do? What are the guidelines? What are the things? We tried as much as possible, and I'm talking about the center, not me. They tried as much as possible to have this outside and to communicate. Some faculty did it. And the other thing is we were asking them also not to rely too much on Zoom, because some students could have a problem. You had to do it, you had to do interactions online if possible. And that was a challenge for faculty. The other thing is the assessments. We tell them, you know, you can't have proctored exams. You'll have to find alternative assessments, and we would give them examples of what that is a challenge. They worked very hard because the assessments they were doing are the typical, you know, exam that you give in front of, you know, you proctor and so on. But this is trying them to tell them other things. So that was a big challenge. It still is. So we don't know yet the final verdict at the end of the semester. We're still going to have feedback, and I hope the students are going to give the feedback. We have some feedback from faculty, and we're trying to address them. And I'm hoping the students that are here are going to. I've read a lot of the feedback that was given, but I'd be interested to know what your challenges are and what your recommendations would be. But the bottom line is that the summer cannot. What we did in the spring, it cannot be repeated in the summer. There were some mistakes that were made, some things that were made, and the way out of that is to design the course from now until the thing, so it is ready, more or less ready week by week. And the summer is more challenging because 6 weeks, it's not 15. So it's crunched. So week by week, every week the students should know ahead of time what's going to be due, when are there be tests, when are there be quizzes, when the assignment is due, what kind of assignment, so that they can plan their time. One of the problems was the planning of the time, because students get bombarded with things 24 hours ahead of time, and they really you didn't know what to do with it. I don't want to take too much time. I know that we're going to talk about, post-COVID, what's the way forward? I think the way forward, at least in teaching and learning, is not going to be going back to the same thing. Even faculty that had a difficult time today have learned something. Some things they found better to use. They're thinking about maybe how they can improve or give a course that's more efficient, even if it is face-to-face. How can we render the class even if it's face-to-face? And other faculty are going to change completely. They're going to go to models like the flipped classrooms and so on. The bottom line is that I think in any institution of higher education, there should be an entity that supports faculty. I don't think faculty they really need the support on various levels. And so it should not be left to them. And I don't like the word training, because really it's bigger than that. It's not that you go in somewhere, spend some time and you go out differently. No, this is an ongoing iterative process from which there's reflection, see what works and what doesn't work. And every discipline has its own pedagogical approaches and so on. So anyway, I can talk much more, but I'd rather listen to some of the questions that may come, or listen to my dear colleague Riham, what her experience was. I'm sure every institution has a different culture, and you have to adapt to that culture as much as possible. So I'd like to listen from you, and then open up for questions, if that's okay with Bahgat. I think I took my 15 minutes.
Thank you, Aziza. No, that is perfect. I think you added a third fact to the two I have mentioned. We are not going back to what we have been doing. Not only in teaching, have been reading about traveling, tourism, society, how it is organized, how we meet each other, how we talk to each other. So no going back. We are new norm. That is the standard expression that has been used. But we are focusing on teaching. Thank you for giving us the experience at AUC and even beyond. But now we will listen to my colleague, Dr. Riham Bahi. She is actually my colleague because we teach the same material, international relations. Very appreciated at Cairo University, so much appreciated, she has been invited to teach at AUC from time to time. But she is going to talk to us about, as Aziza said, a different institution, a different, perhaps, standards, different public, even though not only we are in the same country, but in the same city. Riham, the floor is yours.
Okay, hello everybody. وكل سنة وانتم طيبين. I'm very happy to be with you, and thank you for the invitation. Good to be part of the AUC forum discussion about going online in terms of teaching. Very happy to finally meet Dr. Aziz Al-Lozi. I hear great things about you all the time. Very happy to see you. Very happy to be back virtually to AUC, because I was part of AUC until not very long ago. And then I'm following the AUC decisions to go online, and I was very happy with the process, especially with the communication. The communication was very clear. I don't know, Dr. Aziz, you didn't mention that, but somebody from the outside still getting email from AUC and not getting emails from Cairo University, or knowing things otherwise, which I will talk about later. But I was very happy with the line of communication from the AUC and how the support for the faculty and for the students. But I will not talk about AUC. I'm here to talk about Cairo University. I just want to add to the point that Dr. Bahagat mentioned. طبعا دكتور بهجت is not colleague زي ما هو قال دكتور بهجت أستاذي. Okay, ففي هنا الأستاذية and I really appreciate that from يعني my first early years studying international relations. When I talk to my colleagues about our experience with going online, we're actually not happy. We're not very happy with it. Yes, we were happy to be at home for some times, but we are saying that when we go back and we want to go back, we will go to even the most traditional way. We will use the chalk, the tabashira, will not even use PowerPoint. These are the comments of my colleagues. We miss the classes. We miss the face-to-face interaction with the student. We miss looking into their eyes. We miss the aha moment that they understand. And maybe because our experience at Cairo University was different. But let me tell you why we have this reaction that we want to go back to the primitive ways and how the experience was. Okay, so we were surprised, like everybody in the country by mid-March, that there will be no school, university will be closed for 2 weeks. Then some silence. We didn't know what will happen next. AUC had a plan. I read the email that you will be experimenting with online teaching or distance learning, but we had silence in the 2 weeks. And then we were told that we will be shifting to distance learning or distance teaching in order to resume the teaching or learning process. Dr. Bahagat mentioned surveys and Dr. Aziza mentioned feedback. I don't think this happened, and I think this experience at Cairo University and in Egypt in general, in all public universities, we need to have this experience evaluated to prepare for the next scenario, because I heard by chance that maybe the next semester will be online as well. And that tells you also about communication, because communication was not very clear during the process. So this process revealed the level of preparedness of Egyptian University to go online. We were prepared. I don't know, we will see later. It revealed also the level of flexibility. And we want to put a question mark here. What do we mean by flexibility? Because flexibility here is like, okay, no classwork, no final exams, take it easy on students. But is this the flexibility we want? Because I didn't see flexibility in determining classwork or to give classwork. So here I have a big question mark on flexibility. And also preparedness, because it is a crisis situation, as Dr. Aziza mentioned. We were faced by this problem and we had to respond to it to finish this semester or to resume this semester. So what happened actually? So my concern, or this is something because I studied in the US and I taught at AUC and I taught in Germany. For me, the response was centralized in a way that I'm not used to. So this centralization came either from decisions from the Supreme Council of Universities or from the University Council itself. So decision was top down. I did not participate in any of the decision. I was not consulted, though I am actually a director of a program. But I always receive decisions. I do not make or participate in discussing them. But I don't know, and that's a question for the expert, Dr. Aziza, given the fact that we live in Egypt and the public universities and how big these institutions are, the number of faculties and the number of students and their different level. Sometimes I think, oh, maybe centralization is a good thing to guarantee quality, to guarantee the work is done. But on the other hand, someone like me, and I have a lot of innovative ideas, I found this centralization was not allowing me to go the extra mile. I was just asked to do a certain way of teaching. And I will tell you what is this. So centralization came in the form of the method of teaching and came in the form of the method of assessment. In the method of teaching, we were asked to videotape lecture, either to come to university and videotape it there. And there was actually a very professional team to help with camera equipment, and the professor and the cameraman will be in the classroom videotaping a normal lecture. Or you can actually, if you're not happy about leaving home and going to the university, you can make the video at home, or you can record voice over PowerPoint. And that was the most, actually some professor did the videotape, and some professor, including me, we did the voice over the PowerPoint. Then we send them centrally to someone, an office at the Faculty of Economics and Political Science. And this person was responsible to upload each and every lecture for the 3 departments. See how many courses, of course. So the lectures, or the video or the voice PowerPoint used to arrive to the student late, but actually I had Moodle, and I communicated with my student via Moodle before the crisis and during the crisis. So I uploaded also, like, in addition to sending to the university office, I send the student directly my PowerPoint to make sure that they receive them on time. Okay, later on, there were some flexibility that the professors can connect with their students via Zoom or via WebEx. Assessment were decided from above. There came a decision that you should not ask the student for homeworks or classworks to do coursework to be done at home, though I thought it's a good opportunity, since they will be at home doing nothing, to read and write papers and do assignments. But I understand why the decision was like this, because of the equal opportunity. Not all students have access to internet, so they wanted to guarantee fairness. Okay, so we were asked not to give any workload, and we were given a choice either to have 100% on the final exam when it is decided, or to have 80-20, 20 for the coursework and 80 for the final exam, though actually my course was 50-50, 50 coursework and 50 for the final exam. Also, we received a decision about the final work. I'm sure you are following the website, not the website, the Facebook site of Cairo University. They decided that final exam will be in a form of research paper. It should be done collectively in a group of 5. So, you know, it was decided even to the small detail, and everything was uploaded centrally to a newly designed website. Okay, challenges in that process. Taban, working through a pandemic was really hard, and we did not receive emotional or psychological support. Like I was also following, since I was part of AUC, messages from the president of the university. Thank you for your effort. We value your effort and things like that. So I felt we were rushing, okay, to finish things, okay, and not taking into consideration that it is a pandemic that we are facing on the faculty level and also on the students level. Also, institutional communication, as I said before, there was a problem. Either it is non-existing or one way or very slow to come. Decisions were very slow. Like I'm sure you're following also the decisions of the Supreme Council of University. Yesterday, they decided that we will have exams for the final years, and they are talking about safety measures. They did not mention safety measures in the decision, but they said we discussed the safety measures. I direct a graduate program. I still don't know, and I keep getting questions from the students, like what will be the situation with us? Is it going to be a final exam or a final paper? And my answer is always, I don't know. I asked my superiors, and again, sorry, I don't know. And I asked my superiors, they don't know. And we will know once it is decided by the Supreme Council of Universities. Also, because everybody was on the internet at that time, either my son on Zoom or me trying to upload a big video. The internet was very slow. The internet was a problem. I can actually spend a couple of hours try to just upload a video or an audio file. I spend fortune on internet to make sure that I connect and I can teach, and also my son can get his education online. Dr. Aziz and Dr. Bahgat mentioned surveys and mentioned feedback. So far, we were not asked about any feedback, or maybe feedback was not systematic. But once we have a problem, we can communicate and the problem will be rectified or solved. And also if there is a problem by the students, they can communicate and the problem can be solved. I know there was problems like with access. Some students did not have internet. Some students did not have laptops or tablets. And the university played an important role in providing help in that regard. Okay, so this centralization is a feature of Egyptian universities. And my question was, is it suitable for the new context? Okay, post-COVID, would it continue or will we continue to be centralized, or the new context will require a new approach to higher education? Okay, and also is centralization good during crisis, or we should have left it open for some kind of innovation? But having in mind also that people are different and they wanted to guarantee some kind of a system that everybody can deliver. Not everybody is committed. The problem is with the chosen method, the video or the voice over PowerPoint, is communication. There was no communication with the student during that time. And especially because also there is no coursework, no course load, we could not get questions from them about this workload. Now, because they're starting to write their final paper, I started to receive feedback and questions from them. Preparedness, were we prepared as professors to go online? Okay, was everyone prepared? Maybe I was prepared, maybe my colleagues were prepared, but talking about all Egyptian universities, were all professors prepared for online teaching? Are the students prepared for online learning? Access to internet, as I said, it was a big problem for students, especially in remote area or in rural areas. Online versus offline teaching, as I said, talking to my colleagues, we're not happy with the experience. We miss our classes, we miss our students. And I said, we were joking that when we go back, we will not even use any technology, not even PowerPoint. We also think that university is more than just giving content. University is about university life. It's about creating citizens. It's about giving skills, giving attitude. If we will continue with this online learning or blended learning, how can we make sure that students are learning, or how can we make up for this missed opportunity of the university life among the students?
Okay.
Thank you for listening, and I'm done.
Very good. Your views are very clear. I think lots of improvisation. You make us feel that we are lucky at AUC. We had much more support, much more backing up.
But AUC is small.
We will come to the issues about flexibility, about inequality. I wish we had the chance to invite somebody from university in the south of Egypt, in Asyut, for instance, to see how the situation there. But I think you are giving us lots of warning about online teaching. And we'll come back to that, I hope, during the webinar. I now want to listen to the students because they are the majority. My colleague Aziza has mentioned some feedback and some surveys, but we would like to listen to them. And as I said in the publicity, we have 3 different students from 3 different schools. One, and I'll start with her, is Aida, coming from the School of Sciences and Engineering. She is a senior. And actually, science and engineering is one of the fields where online teaching might be a bit more problematic than in the other schools. Aida, you have 3 minutes.
Hey, Ramadan Kareem. Actually, I totally agree with Dr. Aziza and Dr. Rihim. So I will start first by saying advantages. Actually, like online teaching give me an opportunity like to have recorded videos and return back for videos at any time I want. But actually the disadvantages is that we are in the middle of a situation that came out of the blue. So I believe it is actually challenging for both the doctors and the students. So one of my disadvantages, like having recorded videos, there is not kind of face-to-face interaction. There are actually consumed the time to come back and forth, situation, poses, and so on. So if I want like to ask a question, I would take like an hour to send an email and got replied back, while I would have like asked this question in just like 2 minutes in the class. Another disadvantages, I mean, like the process of getting into an online teaching, and give the doctors more time, plenty of time to cover more materials. That's why I believe it is actually unfair to cover more materials compared to other students in another ordinary situations. In the last couple of weeks, I'm asked to recover lots of material, submit like 8 dues by a week. So I guess it is actually disadvantage. The kind of removing exams and starting like to have online and take home exam. Actually, it took me around 3 days to finish an exam. I had to do a research. I had to do study on my own. Also, some of my courses, the doctor actually postponed like uploading the videos, and I'm now required to cover around 6 lectures. Even I actually extended the deadline for exams by 22, and I'm now in the middle of a situation to end after Eid, and I will work during Eid. I don't know. Kind of, I'm really, my self-esteem is going down. No graduation. I'm actually graduating this semester, so there are many challenging that came into my mind. Also a kind of proctoring exam is actually made us a kind of stressful situation. Like we are stressed about exam in the ordinary situations, while like having the proctoring exam, really stressing out about what if the internet was going down. Also, some kinds of videos are really long and slow. That's why some professors started like transferring from using Connect videos into YouTube. So I believe like doctors in online teaching later on, inshallah, will have like a kind of both Zoom meetings or maybe recorded videos and Zoom meetings for office hours questions. So we are not going to suffer the same situation that we are in right now. Some actually of my disadvantages, actually a kind of a career science student. I don't need really to have like a treatment with labs and so on. So I believe like the true challenge is like with chemistry, physics, biology, and also computer science, electronics, and engineering. I actually appreciate how the university approaches the crisis and the art of the crisis management nowadays. So I heard of my student, if allow me to actually put in the table some kind of concerns of my colleagues, some kinds of doctors in the CS department, and they required from students like submitting 7 assignments a week. I don't know what kind of thing that induced the doctors to increase that kind of workload. I don't know if they are going to be lenient and flexible, or they are actually complicating issues more. So this is a kind of disadvantages. Some other disadvantages that we have no assembly hours. So some doctors exceeded the 1 and 15 minutes after the class to an extent that I have 2 hours a class while it is actually 115 minutes. Also, the doctors weren't actually appreciating how we the kind of work and how much we worked very hard on like a project or something, and they asked us to resubmit it like for 3 times. It is actually very challenging semester, though I believe that AUC had did it, did its best to like to manage this crisis, but there are many concerns that should be taken later on, like determine in advance what is actually required from students to submit by a week and the weekly basis. So we are not going into this kind of really stressed time. Also, like meeting the deadlines, the deadlines of posting the grades, meeting the deadlines of like having lecture to be covered. I also really appreciate gaining the knowledge of more materials to be covered. But actually, I don't think that is the right time to take such a situation to cover more material, especially all like psychological issues. The environment itself is not the best thing, is not the very supporting thing. Actually,
Thank you, Aida.
Thank you.
Saif, you are next. Saif is also a senior student, but coming from a different school, the School of Business, and he is in the Department of Economics. Saif, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, hello everyone. As Dr. Bahagat mentioned, I am in the School of Business, but I'm also a double major student. So I'm a major in political science, and I'm also majoring in economics. And I just wanted to mention that because I think that that is pretty important in what I have to say. So as Dr. Aziz Al-Luzi mentioned, and as Dr. Rehan mentioned, I think that we have to draw a line. We have to draw a bit of lines to differentiate a lot of circumstances that happened. And I think the two that I would like to draw is the first one between AUC and other universities in Egypt. I think that you said it best when you talked about the centralized nature versus the decentralized nature of both universities. So I think that we were to a certain extent very lucky to be in AUC, where we were very quick to adapt to the situation, and we were able to get back on our feet rather quickly. And I think the second line that I want to draw here from a personal experience is between the Department of Economics and the Department of Political Science, because in political science, I have rather arts-based courses, which was very easy to transform into online material using papers, using research, while in economics, we had a little bit of the problems that Aida mentioned before me on we had to have access to labs, we had to have access to regression applications that are usually found in labs, and getting licenses for these and getting access to them was rather hard. So I think that my personal experience was that the arts-based courses, mainly in political science, where we had a big reliance on papers and on research, was pretty easy to transform, while the ones that focused on math, focused on regression applications, focused on things that you usually find in both in labs and a lot of things that you would need to be face-to-face with the professors in order to understand, that's where we had a bit of a problem. So I would like to say a bit of the things that I found went very well, and a lot of the things that I think need improving. Teaching and online learning scenario is very, very good, especially for us in Egypt, for people that are away from university. I personally live 2 hours away from university, so my daily commute is 4 hours both ways. So I think that really helped me out a lot. Also, I think that, as Aida mentioned, as a lot of people mentioned, the recorded lectures, I think while they have a bit of problems where you want to ask questions, I think they also provide a good opportunity for students to be able to how many times they want and be able to understand what's going on. Yes.
Saif, can you turn off your video because you're cutting, and I think maybe if you turn off your video, we can hear you better. I don't know if the others have. Okay, thank you.
Dave, can you hear us?
Yes. Is it better now?
Yes.
Now go on.
Okay. Sorry about that. This actually brings me on to my second point, which is internet connectivity. And I think this is the biggest problem that we're facing. My internet connection at home is, I would say, very well above average, but I'm still having a lot of problems when dealing with live meetings such as this one. So I think this is the one thing that really needs to be addressed, whether it's in AUC or elsewhere. our internet connectivity in Egypt is not the best. And when you rely on such platforms, it really does cause a lot of problems when the professor is trying to speak. And the way it would go is just like right now, where you have 30 students and the professor is trying to speak and nobody can hear her or him. So I think that my basic recommendation, to wrap this up and not take too much time, is that I think going forward, we should focus a little bit more on recorded lectures with live office hours. So in that case, students can go at their own pace, and at the same time, internet connectivity, the issues with internet connectivity can be minimized. And just to add on to your discussion about going forward, I would tend to take a middle ground between the two opinions that were voiced. I don't think that we will be going back to completely to the way we were, especially in AUC, because I think that we realized that a lot of time, a lot of energy was wasted in things, in some things that can be transferred online very easily. But at the same time, I don't think that we are at the point yet where we can continue an online education or to take it to the other extent completely. So I think in the future, I hope that we will have a mixed teaching system where we can take advantages of both systems that we had in previous times and that we're having now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Saif. We will come back to the future. Then we have our last student, and Shadi is a graduate student. I don't think he has gone through teaching online, but he had to defend his MA proposal online, and probably he will talk about his experience in political science at this level. Shadi?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bagad, and thank you all for sharing your experiences. I want also to share my experience because, as you said before, that we are somehow lucky to be in the UC during this time because we are somehow prepared than other universities, but also in the Department of Political Science, we are somehow lucky, as Seth said before, that most of our, literature or our courses can be easily transferred to being like recorded or to be like distance learning. However, I would agree with Dr. Reham that actually distancing people it should not be the normal, like the future normal. And being in the library, maybe it's some kind of something motivation for people to find new information and new things to write about. But however, I would also like talk about some of the disadvantages that I found during my, defending my proposal here. First of all, for sure, is the technical issues that we might face during, live sessions and during meetings. Also, we are losing the concept of time, like study time, which means that we are not restricted to some kind of like time frame during the day to work on our studies. And that might, just conflicting between our normal lives or social lives and our study lives for sure. And this might, and this actually created like a lot of stress for all of us to work on these kind of new courses with this new way. I would also, say that most of the professors don't have the standards in recording their videos, which means that some of the courses that should not be like a talking just one-to-one. It should be like an interactive or like engaging students in the webinar. I mean, like some of the professors actually created like quizzes, like live quizzes, and that was some kind of new also technology that they used. Some new applications during their courses, but that was quite funny as well because people were just getting into the course of the class just to participate in this quiz and to create some kind of a race between the students, and that was kind of interesting for me. That was like a course about something related to the international relation field. And also some professors created like creative ways during their courses. So these were some advantages of having this kind of new or distance learning. The disadvantages, as well, I said, is more about technical issues and distancing people, and also about I don't know about other universities, but I know about Cairo Universities from my colleagues, because I'm also I was a student at Cairo University in my bachelor degree. The university is not also well prepared for such sudden transformation to this distance learning. We are talking here about the AUC, and I'm sure that all of you know that the community of the AUC is somehow used to watch YouTube videos for some courses just to make it easy for them. But in Cairo University, students used to go to the university every day, or like to see them, their colleagues, to their friends, attend lectures together, just sharing notes for the lectures. And this has changed suddenly, without being notified before, or without being prepared for it before, and that actually created a lot of stress that they are facing right now when it comes to thinking about the future, how it will be. So I agree with all of have been said so far, and I think as Dr. Bagat said before, that there are the three facts that he mentioned before. It should be very important to discuss. And yes, I hope this cannot be continued this way, because we are wishing to be back again, and to go back to our social lives as well.
Thank you, Shadi. So
Thank you, Doctor.
I think one important aspect from the 5 speeches that we have heard is that we all feel to different degrees the impact of improvisation. We were taken by surprise. AUC seems to have coped well, more or less. Cairo University, much less. Don't forget, AUC in terms of number of students is almost 10% of what we have at Cairo University. 6,000 students compared to about 600,000. But certainly the impact of surprise is making all of us feel the problems. And it is time for stock taking and prepare for the next stage. Shall we continue completely online teaching? Some advantages: saving time, no traffic. As some student told me, it is lovely to get out of bed and go to my class in my pajamas. That's interesting. Apparently, by the way, one interesting statistics that I have seen is that for Walmart, which is like Metro or Carrefour here in Egypt, the buying online for pajamas has gone up by 143%. So this is something we don't think of, but it is there. You have also the reservations about, I think, when Reham talked about that teaching is not only just giving the information, but it is also a way of interacting, not only between the instructor and the students, but among the students themselves. So certainly it is important to evaluate the process and see how we can go ahead. Is it as safe as said that we should go for a mixed system of online and direct teaching, face-to-face? How can we do that? I think we will take some questions. I have here a question. Somebody is asking if professors and instructors can carry out their plans this academic year despite the changes that have taken place. I don't know if Reham and Aziza, you have reactions to that. I have my own opinion about that.
I'm not sure I understand the question totally, because they have carried out, whether it's successful or not, they have carried out the plan. If they're talking about what happens in the fall, that's a different story. I guess I'm not quite understanding what the question is, Yabaghat.
Yeah, I think the meaning is that, and you mentioned that, I think, during your initial talk, is that there has been a certain course design, and I think people want to maintain this course design despite the change. And
oh, I see. Okay, right. I see what you mean. Okay, I think if there's anything that comes out of this, is the realization that we could do things better. There's no doubt. I mean, like I said, teaching is an iterative process, and you're trying to get it to be better. I've listened to what Shadi and Aida and Saif was saying. I have read all that, and every time I read it, I say, what a shame, because it's so easy to solve this challenge, even online. So it boils down really to be able to work with somebody who knows what they're doing. And they're actually, today they're called instructional designers and instructional technologists. That is what their specialty is. So I think, I'm going back to what Riham is saying. I think all of us here, Riham, all of us, I don't think that anybody would replace a face-to-face. There's no doubt about it. Students learn from each other. You learn from your students, and the students learn, and they learn from you. But the point is what are they learning? If you go in, if they go to, with all due respect, to class to get notes from the professor, if that's simply the information given to you, the information is all over the place. They can get information, they can learn on their own if they really have to. So that's not the way to do it. You have the precious time that you have, and even with 100 students or even 200 students in a thing, you can make it engaging. And there are ways of doing it. I've discovered it in my late age because of what I'm doing. I've seen what research has shown and so on. So I'm saying that these things can be addressed. And I'm sorry that somebody has to give a lecture. You know, a few years ago, about 4 years ago, I took my first online course. I said, I'll try it. It was a John Hopkins thing. I was so engaged. I used to say, I used to stay till 2 o'clock in the morning just doing it. So there are ways of engaging people. And that's the thing, is to learn how to do it. It's to learn how to do it. It's not by putting a 1-hour lecture and somebody is taking up in the notes. And that's what I'm trying to say. Going back to course design, about that. Yes, I hope that that's what we will learn with time to change our way of. This has been very interesting. You know, we could go on forever. Really. I would love to, but yeah, I have to be quiet and give chances for other questions.
okay, Riham.
Dr. Bahgat, can I just go back to something that you mentioned? Taban, thank you so much for the students' feedback. And actually, what the student mentioned make me feel that Cairo University actually did a good job in many respects. Dr. Bahgat, you mentioned that AUC did a good job, where actually maybe Cairo University did much less of a good job. I cannot know that, and without evaluation and surveys, we cannot actually say that for certain. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, okay? I was talking from just one perspective, from the perspective of the professor. I was actually hoping to be engaged more. But from hearing what Aida said and hearing what Saif said and what Shadi said, I think Cairo University addressed their concern. So Aida said they had like 7 assignments for a week or in a week or something like this. Cairo University asked to minimize the requirement in order to take into consideration the circumstances of the students, especially students with no access to internet. So I think this is a good thing that Cairo University did, taking that into consideration. I don't remember, was it Shadi or Saif when they said there is a problem of the internet, and if it was actually a recorded video is better, where the students can watch the video in their own time and learn at their own pace. I think this is what Cairo University did. recorded video, go and watch the video. But the point that you mentioned about online office hours where you can communicate with the professors, this is actually a very good point. I didn't mention, or actually I did mention that I direct a program, the Euromed program. I'm the director of the program, though actually I also receive decision from above. I don't decide everything for the program, but I was lucky to be engaged in the process and to evaluate and to monitor and be part of it. Judging from the student feedback, the students are happy. More students want to join because of the online thing, so they don't have to leave their kids at home. This is a graduate class. They have kids, they have work. So students now are more committed to their studies because of the online mode of teaching. The students are actually happy with the program as is, more than the face-to-face interaction. They see that the professors are available more. The professors are more engaged. They send them clearer instruction. They are available with them online. They respond to their emails. They respond by phones. So the feedback of my program, and not because it's my program, but because I am involved, I know the details. The students at Cairo University, the Euromed program, are happy with the experience. So that's it.
Thank you. So lots more of advantages than disadvantages this time. Actually, and I'll give the floor to the students soon. Just Aziz, what you mentioned about your experience at Johns Hopkins. I have a question here. How can we reinforce incentives for the students during online teaching?
I think it's the same way as an incentive for students in real life. I know that students are very motivated by grades, and that's the wrong incentive. I think the best incentive is that they're interested in what they're learning. And I think there are many ways of doing that. And best way is engage students to, with the material itself. And so a lot of it is let them, I mean, if anything is to treat them. I always say you have to treat the undergraduate the way you treat the graduate. Make him or her independent, an independent learner. Guide them, give them the information, but guide them to learn. Help them make mistakes and teach them to redo it. Now, you're going to tell me it's easy to do that in a 30 student classroom. I say you can do that in a 100 and 150 classroom. It's just the way you approach it. And that is where technology comes into place, because technology allows you to do, if you're doing it properly, the lectures that you give, and that's what they were doing in Johns Hopkins, they give you a lecture, and then they divide it into 10 or 15 minutes, never an hour lecture. And after the 10 minutes, they give you 10 questions that you think about, all right? And if you make a mistake, they allow you to do it again and again and again. They are MCQ questions. That's the best way to realize where your mistake is. And you're learning on your own. Nobody's telling you, this is the right answer. No, you have to figure it out yourself. So this used to engage me. I used to listen and do it and so on. And so I'm just saying that technology can be used for engagement. They're not even used for technology, for communication, but not for the sake of using technology. Technology in itself is not a teacher, all right? So unless you use it properly, don't use it at all. Yeah, you go back to the chalk and board. So use it properly as to communicate, to engage, to assess, to guide, etc., etc. But the professor themselves, it's not, there's nobody's going to replace him or her. That's the best guide. That's why we're in the profession for.
Okay. We have somebody from Alexandria University who wants to give us some idea about the experience there. But before giving that person the floor, I want to hear the students about the incentives. Did you see a difference between online teaching and face-to-face teaching? Did you feel any difference? Aida?
So I turned off my video just so we don't have it.
Okay.
Yes, I turned off my video so we don't have any more problems. I agree with what Dr. Aziz is saying. I think that professors who are able to incentivize their students to enjoy the course and to engage with the course can do that whether it's online or otherwise. And I've had that done to me a lot of times when I was in AUC, and I've had the complete opposite happen. So the professors who are able to engage the students in the course, who are able to provide incentives other than grades, have been able to continue doing that online. Whereas those who don't have not had a change really.
Okay, so being online didn't make much difference.
No, but it didn't hinder the professors who wanted to engage students in their class.
Okay, Aida?
I think this is actually a remarkable difference. I mean, like if they would like motivate something like incentives and so on from economics like courses, I would actually related the COVID-19 circumstances with my studies. Also, even if for like regression, sorry, like multivariate, we have data for COVID-19, time series analysis, we have data for COVID-19. So I would go like doing more incentives to you the circumstances that we are in the middle right now, and have like a kind of contribution, even if like individual contribution, to reflect COVID-19 on the data in the economy itself, on the the oil gases prices and so on. So I believe if they really wanted to have an incentive and incentivize us as a students, they would have done that. But I think they misuse this situation right now. I hope and later on, inshallah, they will overcome the mistake.
Shadi, do you have anything to add?
Yes, Professor. I would agree that incentives are not so much different from distance learning and physical learning. However, I agree that it's not about incentives; it's about interaction. It's more about engagement. Because if I feel that I'm more engaged in the course in the distance learning or with the professor over Zoom or whatever, I will be more incentivized to be more active, to do my assignments and to do my more effort to be more coping with the course. So I feel that the incentives should be going on the same level that it were before the COVID-19 pandemic, and the focus now should be more on the engagement and the interaction plans for the professors to get the students more engaged in the courses.
Okay. We have now the chance to listen to feedback about Alexandria University from Professor Rushdie Zahran.
Thank you, Dr. Bahgat. It's a real pleasure being with you this afternoon. كل سنة وحضراتكم طيبين ورمضان كريم عليكم. I just want to share with you in a few minutes, in a couple of minutes, the experience of Alexandria University during this past crisis or current crisis, if I may say. At the beginning, we were all panicked. I mean, students, faculty, and everybody was panicked as usual. We are not very far from Cairo University, being all connected to the Supreme Council of Universities. We had to abide to all kinds of rules and regulations imposed by the Supreme Council, and it was left to each university to put its own rules and regulation. In this regard, let me emphasize that we in Alexandria University, about a couple of years ago, we have come up with the so-called Pedagogical Innovation and Distant Learning Unit. This is a very specialized and specified unit that takes care of all kinds of learning tools and LMS of all facilities. And we have a very nice group, strong group of faculty members and even assistants that are part of this unit. And they have a very good network worldwide. I mean, with the IOF, with CG, Francophonic agencies, and with other institutions worldwide. And they have a very good network. We at Alexandria University, through this unit, have established, let me say, a hinge, if I may say. I mean, this unit or through this unit, we meet 3 times a week, every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And we are talking about a specific topic related to online education in general, whether it is lecture delivering, assessment of student, etc., and all this kind of stuff. And we are more than about 100% every other evening over the Zoom to exchange ideas into the fact of online learning in general. In the meantime, we have established a good set of network with our students. I'm an engineer from an engineering background, and I do appreciate very much what Aida said, because I'm living it with my senior student at the BS project. And I do feel every single word that Aida mentioned. I lived it. I mean, I've been living in it. And for this reason, I've been using Microsoft Teams for quite a long time. And it was good that I already built up an experience over the years with Microsoft Teams. And that eliminated a good deal of time in order to get in touch with my students. We were already on Microsoft Teams. Some of the colleagues are using Google Classrooms. And of course, we have some of the faculties use the Moodle. So in other words, we have instant access to the student 24 hours. I mean, we do not have, I'm not saying every faculty member is doing so, but at least a good deal of our colleagues at the Faculty of Engineering, they are practicing using Microsoft Teams and Google Classroom. So the problem of getting in touch with the student and give them instant information is no longer existing. It was a really mess at the beginning, but now we have established a stable system and everything is doing fine. We are still having a problem in the sense of or concerning the final evaluation. I don't want to say the final exam, but the final evaluation, whether it will be an online exam or an exam that the student will have to solve in what we call a take-home exam, or even an article, paper, a project, whatever. So the problem or the concern of most of our colleagues is how to monitor the student, how to make sure that it is the student who is taking the exam and who is submitting the exam and so forth. And we have done that through the institutional email and the student ID. I mean, every student we have set, we have developed through the this unit that I just mentioned, we have developed a set of videos explaining the steps of what to do in order to upload a file, in order to upload their report and so forth. So in that sense, we do not have a problem in getting in touch with the student as we used to have in the past using email, for example. It's taking too much time using email, but using the Google Classroom platform or MS Teams, we have instant access to the student. And I personally have gone through the experience, and many of my colleagues, of sharing and the activities online through the Microsoft Whiteboard or any kind of similar Blackboard. I mean, I'm getting online with the student at the same time, even at 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, they, not me, they have no problem, therefore I will not have a problem. And we interact and we brainstorm together what to do, what not to do, who will do what, etc. So I find that this pandemic crisis gave us a very good opportunity to evaluate ourselves, to evaluate our way of teaching and getting in touch with the student. I do agree, as Dr. Riham said, that many of us as faculty member, I'm not going to blame the student only, but I'm going to also address our colleagues at the Faculty of Engineering in particular, that many of them were not prepared to do so. And of course, as Dr. Aziza mentioned at the beginning, I mean, the online learning is completely, the philosophy and the way is completely different than face-to-face learning. So unfortunately, many of our colleagues are just simply posting a PDF and putting a recording, of course, this does not meet the student requirements. So I don't want to take too much of your time, but I just wanted to let you know that the problem of getting instant contact with students is almost overcome. I mean, we have instant access to our student, and all the announcement that the student union or the university administration are taking for the exam or for the courses are instantaneously listed to the student, either by the faculty member or through the Facebook account of the university. Thank you for giving me the time, and I'm sorry if I took too much of your time, but I just wanted to share the experience of Alexandria University with you in this pandemic, and let's hope that everyone is staying safe and we go back to normal. And our senior student next year, right now, will be in the middle of their jobs and giving us their experience. Thank you. Thank you again. وكل سنة وحضراتكم طيبين.
Thank you, Professor Zahran, very, very much. I mean, this feedback is actually a huge addition to our discussion, and you really did us a big service by being there and offering to give the experience. I hope that next time you will actually be one of our participants, and perhaps we meet in Cairo when the situation is over. But I want to thank you very much for being involved in the discussion. One of the aspects that I have seen during readings to prepare this webinar, and actually some people have mentioned it, is time fluidity. You don't have a structure. You go into your course from 10 to 12:30 or 11:30, and that's it. And then you have office hours. Students felt the time fluidity, faculty too. I receive lots of emails, and the students think that I should answer immediately. Obviously, we have committed time fluidity in this webinar. We have gone beyond our time. I see it is 2:17, but I want to finish that webinar, which is just a preliminary balance sheet, stock taking. We see the impact of our improvisation. We have succeeded in some aspects. Some other aspects need to be perfected. I think we all agree, whether we like it or not, that online teaching is going to be with us in the future. 100%, 80%, not yet. But I think what we did today was just to explore what are the lessons we can draw from this experience, so that we can plan to go beyond improvisation. And as the saying tells us, if you don't plan, or if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And this is well said and well quoted. I want to thank all of you, including the students, for bringing in these views, and we will have a recording of this webinar so that all of us can go back to it and try to have a sort of, in a quantitative way, have a list of positive aspects, have a list of negative aspects, and we try to see if there is a way to have the best for everybody, students and faculty. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you. Thank you all.
كل سنة وانتم طيبين.
طيب حبيبي.
طيب. Okay.